The main character of the story is XueRengui Liu Jinhua Wang Maosheng wet nurse. Liu Jinhua Xue made Xue. A long time ago during the Tang Dynasty, in a place called Longmen County in Shaanxi, there was a village called Xue Village. There was a man named Xue. He was 53 years old and had a child late in life named XueRengui. XueRengui never spoke when he was a child. His parents thought he was mute. But because he was their only child, they loved him very much. When he was 15, one day, XueRengui was sleeping in his study. He dreamed of a tiger chasing him, and suddenly woke up shouting. After this scary dream, XueRengui could talk. He started calling Dad and Mom, making his parents very happy. About a year later, XueRengui's parents both passed away. He was left alone, feeling very sad and lonely. His parents had left him some money, so he didn't need to worry about food or clothes. He hired a few teachers who knew martial arts to train him. XueRengui learned quickly and became very good at martial arts. He was great at archery. He could hit a target from 100 steps away. He could even ride a horse and shoot arrows, hitting the tips of willow trees perfectly. He also learned sword fighting and became really skilled. When he swung his sword, it sparkled like silver and looked amazing. But because XueRengui didn't know how to do business, he soon ran out of money. He even had to sell his house. So he moved to a place called Ding Mountain, a mountain at the foot of a hill. He lived in a cave and life was very hard. In the winter he had no warm clothes. He only wore thin clothes and shivered from the cold. They also ran out of rice at home, and he was hungry and cold. This was a really tough time for him. He suddenly remembered. Maybe he could ask his uncle for help, to borrow some rice and money so he could get by. He went to his uncle's house. His uncle looked down on him. His uncle said, "We just ate. Go ask someone else for food." XueRengui got very angry and left his uncle's house right away. Walking down the road, he felt very sad. He looked up and saw a big tree ahead. XueRengui cried and thought, maybe I should just end it all. He picked up a rope, thinking about hanging himself from the tree. Maybe it wasn't XueRengui's time to die. Just as he was about to end his life, a man came by and saved him. The man named Wang Maosheng took XueRengui to his home. After hearing XueRengui's story, Wang Maosheng comforted him and quickly prepared a meal. When XueRengui saw the steaming bowl of white rice, he ate it all in one go, not leaving a single grain. Before XueRengui left, Wang Maosheng gave him half of the rice he had at home and told him to go back and live well. Grateful for Wang Maosheng's kindness, XueRengui carried the rice back to his cave home. It was already dark as he hurried along the path. But in his rush, he accidentally stepped into a dark cave. The cave was pitch black, and XueRengui couldn't even see his hand in front of him. Terrified, he cautiously felt his way forward. Suddenly he noticed a faint light about 5 steps away. Hurrying toward the light, XueRengui discovered a treasure box. Inside were pastries shaped like 9 oxen and 2 tigers. Feeling a bit hungry, XueRengui didn't think twice and ate all the pastries. After eating them, XueRengui felt a surge of strength. He pushed against the stone blocking the cave and managed to create an opening. Rushing back to his cave, he found his appetite had grown tremendously. From that day on, he needed an entire bucket of rice just to feel full. The rice Wang Maosheng had given him only lasted a day. With no other choice, XueRengui went back to Wang Maosheng for help. Wang Maosheng, though unable to spare more rice, suggested XueRengui find work. Touched by Wang Maosheng's generosity, XueRengui proposed they become sworn brothers. Wang Maosheng agreed, and being older became the elder brother. After their oath, Wang Maosheng introduced XueRengui to a wealthy man named Liu Jinhua, who was building a new house and needed workers to carry wood. The next day, XueRengui saw over 20 men struggling to lift a single beam. Laughing, he picked up one beam with ease and carried it at lightning speed, leaving everyone stunned. At lunchtime, XueRengui's enormous appetite shocked everyone again, as he finished a whole basket of rice in no time. Though Liu Jinhua wasn't happy about how much XueRengui ate, he couldn't deny his incredible strength. He let XueRengui continue working, but added night shifts to guard the wood. One night, Liu Jinhua's daughter Liu Jinhua saw a tiger walking through the garden. Startled, she and her maid followed to investigate. When they arrived, they found XueRengui sleeping on the ground. Noticing he had no blanket, Liu Jinhua sent her maid to fetch one. The maid brought a blanket from upstairs, but in the dark, she accidentally gave him a red robe, meant to be Liu Jinhua's wedding gown. By dawn, Liu Jinhua noticed XueRengui sleeping under the red robe and was furious. Liu Jinhua was astonished, as the red wedding robe was part of his daughter's dowry. How could it end up on this labor? He immediately stormed into Liu Jinhua's room, demanding to know where the red robe had gone. Liu Jinhua searched everywhere but couldn't find it. Only then did she remember mistakenly giving the red robe to XueRengui the night before. Realizing her mistake, Liu Jinhua explained everything. When Liu Jinhua heard this, he furiously scolded Liu Jinhua. He insisted his daughter had brought shame to the family. But Liu Jinhua, concerned about propriety, was outraged. Liu Jinhua insisted that his daughter must take her own life, and ordered her to choose between three punishments: scissors, a rope, or poison. Liu Jinhua and her mother pleaded for mercy, but Liu Jinhua wouldn't budge. Heartbroken, they wept together. Their wet nurse came up with an idea: escape. She suggested Liu Jinhua leave quietly and return once Liu Jinhua had calmed down. Late that night, Liu Jinhua and the wet nurse packed their belongings and some silver. They slipped out through the back door and disappeared into the night. At dawn, Liu Jinhua's mother pretended to grieve by the well, making it seem as if her daughter had drowned herself to fool Liu Jinhua. Meanwhile, Liu Jinhua and the wet nurse, overcome with sadness, wandered aimlessly. They eventually sought shelter in an old temple, where they unexpectedly ran into XueRengui. XueRengui realized the trouble caused by the red robe and had quickly fled to this temple. After learning Liu Jinhua was in trouble because of him, XueRengui felt deeply sorry. He offered his thanks but didn't know how to help. Suddenly he thought of Wang Maosheng, suggesting they stay at his brother's home. He asked the wet nurse if Liu Jinhua would agree. With no other options, Liu Jinhua agreed. Wang Maosheng and his wife welcomed Liu Jinhua warmly, seeing how well Liu Jinhua and XueRengui got along, and she soon felt at ease. Wang Maosheng and the wet nurse decided to arrange their marriage. The wet nurse asked Liu Jinhua about her feelings. Liu Jinhua had grown fond of XueRengui, she agreed. Wang Maosheng asked XueRengui about his thoughts. But XueRengui anxiously shook his head and waved his hands. He was dirt poor, how could he afford to get married? XueRengui even considered sending Liu Jinhua back to her family. Wang Maosheng scolded him, pointing out that sending Liu Jinhua back would only lead to her death. Convinced, XueRengui finally agreed. But where would the money come from? Wang Maosheng took charge of the wedding preparations. He went to the market and picked up discarded vegetable leaves, stalks, and leftover duck bones from others' meals, then brought them home. He also went to people's doorsteps and gathered half-burnt candle stubs, using them as red candles for the wedding ceremony. Without proper wedding clothes, XueRengui and Liu Jinhua married in simple linen robes. Wang Maosheng even mimicked instruments with his mouth to create music. For the wedding feast, Wang Maosheng drew pictures of chickens and ducks, placing them on the table as if they were real. Though they laughed and cried at the odd celebration, the couple accepted their humble beginning. After marriage, XueRengui worked hard, chopping wood and selling it in the market to buy food. Liu Jinhua spun and wove cloth at home, earning a few coins each day. Though they were poor, their love for each other made their life happy and fulfilling.